What's up, everyone? Welcome to Among the Fence, my YouTube channel writing music reviews. My name is Aaron, and since there isn't too many albums coming out recently that really catch my ear or inspire me to do a review on them, it gives me a chance to go back and listen to some stuff that people have requested. And one of my good friends requested that I do a review on a pretty old album. So today we're going to be checking out the album The Great Southern Trendkill by Pantera. For those of you who don't know, Pantera formed in 1981 in Arlington, Texas as a glam metal, or I guess you could say hair metal band, and with lead singer Terry Glaze. They released 3 albums: Metal Magic, Projects in the Jungle, and I Am the Night, all 3 of which sucked. Wanting to be heavier, they brought on Phil Anselmo in 1986, and they released Power Metal in 88, which was also kind of a weird album. It wasn't until 1990 that they released Cowboys from Hell, which they also declared to be their debut album. Which also brought them into the groove metal scene, and they just became a lot heavier and a lot more popular with every release, hitting #1 with Far Beyond Driven in 1994. And that brings us to their 4th or 8th studio album, depending on where you want to start their discography, The Great Southern Trendkill. They released it in 1996, and it was also their last album to be produced by Terry Dates, who has been with them ever since Cowboys from Hell in 1990. And this is also one of the albums that's kind of weird, because it either falls in like right in the middle of everybody's rankings of their favorite Pantera, or it's #1. And this is actually the only Pantera album that I've never listened to. I've never heard a single song off of this until I started this review. So I was pretty excited to see what this thing has to offer. And I read a couple, not really reviews, but just descriptions about it, and also taking my friend's description of what this album is, and it just, yeah, I was ready to do this one, so let's jump into it. The album starts off with the title track song, The Great Southern Trendkill, and it's about people lacking passion and just following trends and not really having any individuality. It starts out with a yell, and the music evolves, it gets really groovy, but then sanity breaks through every once in a while, and you can really feel the frustration of this song in the chorus. The lyrics don't really hold anything back, and I feel like they're pretty relevant for today even. The solo's got tons of stuff going on, as you would expect, and it's nothing short of impressive. And this, I don't know, the song structure to me seems almost progressive in a sense, just because you don't really know where it's going to go next, and different stuff just pops up without any warning whatsoever, specifically in the choruses when it gets really crazy. And then we have this song War Nerve, which is super aggressive, as Phil was struggling with addiction, and there's just all kinds of rumors going around in the media and the news, so he just kind of addresses that a little bit in this song. The verse has a bit of thrashiness to it, and the chorus is a little bit calmer, but it just drops out just a little bit before it goes into the post-chorus, which has a really solid build-up to it and brings the intensity out again. And Phil and Pantera are already really brutal, like, not gonna lie. They're one of the more in-your-face kind of bands, especially around in this time, but this is easily one of their most just hostile songs they've ever released, specifically for the lyrics. Phil doesn't hold anything back, calling these people out, and again, I feel like this is kind of relevant to today's media. Drag the Waters is about people not showing their true intentions, and it's a really clever metaphor. It means that, like, after a war, you would drag the waters, you would search in the water for corpses and things like that, and it's kind of a cool metaphor for trying to find someone's true intentions, dragging the waters, trying to find out what they're really about. It starts out with a thick riff, tons of squeals in the intro that returns to the chorus, and it's just, I can't get it out of my head. It's just so freaking good. And this is one of the singles they released, so I gotta admit it's a little bit more digestible, specifically lyrically, and just all around edginess in their sound, I guess you could say. I just wish that this song had a bridge to it, because I feel like it would give it a lot more depth, at least. I don't know, they just repeat the chorus a little bit too much for me, specifically towards the end, where it's just said over and over and over again, and I feel like they could have easily done something a little bit different in there to make it more entertaining, if you want to even say that. Then we have the song Tens, which could be about Phil's addiction. I'm not entirely sure. It's a little bit more somber, kind of like Cemetery Gates in a sense. It's not nearly as epic, don't get me wrong, but the main riff in this is still so freaking sick, and the solo has a really cool bluesy feeling that I don't feel like is found anywhere else on this album, and it's got a lot of emotion as well. It's just another fantastic song. 13 Steps to Nowhere brings the aggression back up after the little bit slower song 10s. It also brings it back in a very groovy way, and it touches on the destruction of Earth in an apocalyptic kind of way about how, like, not only is Earth falling apart, but people are just becoming really crazy, which is interesting to look back at it and see how things are kind of the same way as they are today. The drums stand out to me the most on this song, and the main riff is so slow. As the drums are doing so much, they're really quick, there's a lot of amazing fills, but the riff playing over it is really smooth, and it just makes the whole song just, I don't know, the contrast between the two is just fantastic. The chorus, honestly, is not that great compared to the rest of the song. I'm not saying I dislike it. It's just every time the chorus came around, it felt more like a refrain than an actual chorus. It wasn't anything that really got stuck in your head or anything you wanted to last very long. You just wanted to hear more of the goodness that was in the verses. And then we have the song Suicidal Note Part 1, which is a two-part kind of dealio. This is about the thoughts that someone has before they decide to commit suicide. And Phil wrote these lyrics after he was clinically dead after an overdose and before he was obviously revived. And the narrator uses drugs to ease the pain of their life, and he's just getting kind of tired of it, and he's kind of contemplating on ending it all. It starts out with a dream kind of sequence. I'm assuming this is kind of like Phil passed out dead before he's brought back to life again, and it's followed by an acoustic guitar. The two mix, the vocals and the acoustic guitar, remind me a lot of Guns N' Roses' Patience, but I actually enjoy this a lot more. The lyrics in the chorus are absolutely beautiful, as it's showing the struggle of someone pushing on. And again, much like Drag the Waters, the chorus kind of has a two-part kind of meaning to me, where he's talking about the scars on his wrists, saying he's going to do this again. Where it could go, like I said, one or two ways. It's showing that he's going to do this again, as in, like, this isn't the first time I've done this, I'm going to try it again. Or, like, this is, I'm going to have another shot at living again. I feel like it could go two ways. It depends on how you want to look at it, and I kind of like that a lot. And then we have Suicide Note Part 2, which is sonically completely different from Part 1. This is very fast and loud. The verse is pretty chaotic, and it forms into a really solid groove going into the chorus, and it shows the frustration musically and lyrically about someone who feels like they should be able to take their life and other people shouldn't be able to stop them. If somebody doesn't want to be here anymore, then why should they have to be, which is something I don't really agree with all that much. And verse 3 is pretty heavy, and it really drives this point home. I gotta admit, I also don't really care that much for the crazy guitar solo. It's just a little too crazy for me, but the outro was all around good. This is probably my least favorite song on this album, which says a lot because I actually didn't actively dislike it that much. And then we have the song Living With Me, or Hell's Wrath. This is one of the fastest and thrashiest songs that Pantera has ever written. It's about the tension between Phil and his addiction and just all of his problems, and with the band. The drum work and the guitar on this, again, is just top quality. The chorus has a great hook that personally I couldn't get enough of. The bridge is kind of weird, not gonna lie. It's got like this weird whispered section, and this is probably the only part of the whole album where I didn't really feel like it worked all that well. It's just transitioning into it was okay, and then it went on for a really long time, and it seemed like they didn't really know what to do, so they just jumped right back into the song. It's just really weird and awkward, the transitions, and you're just like, why is this going on forever? And so yeah, that's probably my least favorite part of this entire album, but otherwise the rest of the song is great. And then we have the song Floods, which is an allusion to the biblical flood and how God was displeased with all the wickedness of the world, so he decided to cause the big old flood to kill everybody. And now Phil is questioning if current day society is deserving of another flood, which is pretty brutal. It has another kind of Cemetery Gates vibe to it, and the chord progression in the chorus is fantastic. And the pre-chorus kind of has like this weird vocal effect thing. I think what they're going for is like an underwater kind of sound, and I'm not really a fan of like the echoed vocals at the end of basically every single line. It's like every time something is saying, there's like this echoed kind of lower octave version of whatever line was just said. That got kind of old, kind of quick, but again, I don't know, I really enjoyed this song. It features one of the best metal solos of all time, which you can't really deny that. This one took a little bit to grow on me though. I didn't like it that much the first time I heard it. In fact, all three of these songs I didn't really care for. And the only one that I continued to not really like all that much was Suicide Notes Part 2. I gotta admit, I had a hard time getting into the underground in America, as well as it continues the kind of following trends topic, but this is about posers in the underground who are just following this culture and trend just so they can look cool. It's got fast-paced drums as it starts out on the chorus. And it's really hard to tell though where the verse and the chorus separates. Where, you know, like usually when you get to a chorus you could tell the energy's up there, but this one it's just a little weird. You can't really tell until it hits the post-chorus, and that's where you get a big old chunk of some heavy music. Overall, it makes this whole song flow really well, and it stands out quite a bit. Verse 3 picks up the speed as they're calling out all the fakers, and the guitar solo was probably where I had the hardest part of the song. It just wasn't really my thing. And then we have the closing track, Sandblasted Skin, which basically is saying that all these trends that you're following are now dead. And it's a perfect closing track for that, just because it completes the whole thing. It's a full circle, and trends they work out kind of the same way, honestly. In fact, you could probably put this whole album on repeat and it'll just circle all the way around. It's pretty unique as it doesn't really have a chorus. It's just a verse and then a bridge and an outro. So I don't know, it just stood out to me a little bit more. I enjoyed this one quite a bit. It has a stomping kind of riff, makes it great for moshing. And like I said, it's just a perfect closing track. It closes off the story, and it also makes room for the next trend to come in, for all these people, posers, to just jump on that bandwagon too. The thing I like the most about this album is how experimental this thing seemed compared to all the other albums. You don't really know what each track is gonna offer. With their past albums, you could basically assume just it's gonna be another heavy track. It's gonna be another thing that's full of riffs. But on this, you don't really know what it's gonna offer. Plus, this one follows the storyline rather closely. The lyrics are a lot more diverse, as are Phil's vocals, and I mean not by a whole lot, admittedly. As far as his rhythms go and his enunciation, I feel like he changed it up just a little bit more, and he tried some more stuff that, I don't know, I'm not like a die-hard Pantera know-it-all, but at the same time, this is stuff that I feel like he hasn't done too much, at least not in the past, and it's definitely peak like Pantera stepping out of their comfort zone, I feel like. But because of that, I feel like there's not really a whole lot of like cool riffs. I know, don't hate me, but there isn't like a single riff that really stood out to me all that much. At least not like the past albums like Walk, Unbroken, New Level. I mean, you could basically throw a rock at every other song and you're gonna hit a song that has a really cool riff on any of their past albums. But at the same time, I feel like I didn't really need that, because the whole band all together was kind of like the shining piece on this album. The drums were great. They had some standout moments. There were some cool riffs, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, like the riffs weren't just the song. The whole song stood out to me more than just the riff, for sure. Where a lot of times, you know, I just like the riff on the song. Like I'm Broken, I've listened to that so many times. I just really like that riff now. And the whole song, I kind of tune it out. I've been listening to that thing for like almost 20 years now, so it doesn't stand out to me quite as much. It's kind of the same thing with New Level, where it's just that riff, that intro riff is so heavy, and every time it comes along with those drums that are just tinging away, like I can't get enough of that. And I feel like this album doesn't have so much of just like one person standing out. It's just the whole band, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. Again, I gotta say the drums in this were probably the thing that stood out to me the absolute most. With all that said, I gotta give The Great Southern Trendkill by Pantera a 7.8 out of 10. But I want to know what you guys think. Leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of The Great Southern Trendkill. Let me know what your favorite song is, what you would rate it, and also let me know what your Pantera album ranking list is, because I'm just curious on where this album would fall for most of you guys. And if you haven't listened to it, go ahead and give it a listen, because I feel like this shows a different side of Pantera than what most of us, at least me, are used to hearing. And if you enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a like. If you want to help support me and my channel, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon. Doing any of that stuff helps me out tremendously, especially with YouTube's algorithm. And I just appreciate you guys so much taking time out of your day to listen to me talk about music. And I hope you have a good rest of your day or night, whenever you happen to be watching this. And I will talk to you guys next time.
I was trying, ignorant, kid relying on my parents said to save me.